Hey, I'm Phil Rynda. I'm a director on the Kids and Family team at Netflix. I work really closely with our animation executives and our animation show creators and project leads, and really try to help everyone do the best work of their lives. I made the decision to pursue an executive role in lieu of my kind of history as an artist. At some point, maybe 6 years ago, I sort of had a realization that I didn't have that desire to be a show creator. I didn't have that desire to direct films. On one hand, it was a great pressure relief to not feel like I had to kind of chase something that's really hard to attain. But then at the other side, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And then I looked at what I love, and I really love teaching. I really love working on pilots. I love working on first seasons of shows and helping create worlds and put teams together. I love first-time show creators that have never made stuff before. And looking at that, I said, oh, you know what? Like, maybe this opportunity I'm looking for is in development, and maybe it's more on the executive side. So I sort of I started to transition into that role at Cartoon Network. I was a creative director in their pilots program, and that was sort of the gateway into a full executive job. I think to be an artist, to want to make this switch to an executive role is a really big decision. People ask me a lot about, why I did it, or how does it feel, what are the differences, or sometimes people say that they're considering it themselves and wanting to make that leap. The first thing I would say, if you're an artist and you're thinking about it, is to really examine why you're thinking about it. If you're an artist and for some reason you don't feel fulfilled, or things aren't quite going the way they're going, looking to make a job on the executive side isn't necessarily going to solve that. So I would really examine the reason why you want to make that change. For me, it was about finding more ways to do what I love versus it being about change. The other thing that I think is really tricky is that I still am an artist, I still am a creative person, but I have to remember that it's not my job to grab the wheel. It's my job to sit in the back seat, maybe point out some potholes, maybe talk about how this particular car handles. I don't know why I'm using car analogy, but I'm gonna stick with it. But really, I want to empower that person who's driving, or maybe it's someone who hasn't driven before. And again, instead of teaching them by me driving, they have to learn, and I just have to help them figure that out. So I think that's a big thing to understand. But that's not to say that I can't use those tools that I have. I know that as a former character designer, I get extra points when I'm talking to people about their design work. I think as an artist, I can sometimes talk to artists and say the exact same thing a non-artist executive might say, and I get a little bit of an advantage because people see me more as a peer. But I think that's also one of the reasons why I was interested to move to the executive side, because I really didn't want that us versus them culture. It always felt like everyone wants the same thing, and I thought I could really help from the executive side. I think for everyone this will be totally different. Everyone's creative fulfillment will come from different places. I know that I really love seeing people grow, and I love watching people's communication or what they're trying to communicate really land on who they're trying to speak to. And I get so much creative fulfillment from that. People often ask me, like, do I miss being an artist? And I don't miss it. Like, the physical act of drawing, absolutely, like doing that 10 hours a day was great. But if I want to draw, I can still draw. There's nothing stopping me from drawing. But now, yeah, I'm being kind of creatively fulfilled by different means. And I really, by helping someone else make awesome art, I feel I feel great. So that's a big thing. And I think I learned that when I started teaching. When I started teaching at CalArts, I saw that in myself. And when I started running my design team on Adventure Time, like I could see other people's victories, and I could enjoy a piece of that, knowing that, you know, I may have had a little impact on that victory. I think a mistake that artists make and non-artist executives make is that they think they have to use different words, or they have to speak in the language or dialect of whoever that is that they're talking to, and I think that has been kind of fascinating for me. Is if you may not be able to academically talk about a character and its design, if you're a non-artist executive, it doesn't really matter. You know, you can use words about how that character feels, or what your interpretation is, or you may not know why something isn't appealing, or why something doesn't feel iconic, but you can talk about those things, and then you can let that artist answer those questions themselves, or even disagree with you. I think that is a big one, is that, you know, would you know a brilliant idea, a brilliant groundbreaking idea, like without seeing it already? I think that's one of the most challenging things for executives, is that you have to enable artists to express themselves, and sometimes in ways that challenge everything that's come before us, because that's where like the best groundbreaking ideas come from, because they're not coming down a path that people have traveled on before.